there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to use some gouache and paint some pizza. And this is the first time I'm using DaVinci gouache, which I purchased back in November during their Black Friday sale, because I really was curious about this brand of gouache and I had a lot of requests to review it. They were having a 60% off sale, and I bought this at Blick because they were a little bit cheaper per tube at Blick than they were on the DaVinci website. And they're a good price for what you get in ounces of gouache, I should say. So I was really excited to see how this paint was going to work out. I've used their watercolors for quite a few years, and I always found them to be a really good value, a really sturdy, solid watercolor brand. And yeah, I was just really curious to see how the gouache was going to work. So I'm starting off working in my sketchbook that is made with Arches watercolor paper, and my sketchbook is from Artsy Rosie on Etsy. So if you want to get one of those, you can order them off her website. And I'm kind of watering down the gouache a bit and using some. I bought 8 colors, so I'm trying to use them all in this painting just to make sure I gotta get a feel for them. So for this background, it's kind of like a bamboo cutting board, I think, or pizza peel that this pizza's on. And so I'm using raw sienna, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna, and adding some white in there too. And this brush is a what's it called? I think it's called a Wisp from Royal and Langnickel, and it's from the Zen line of paintbrushes. And I like that I can get kind of like it's almost like a rake, but it's got a more exaggerated brush fiber makeup, so there's bigger gaps in between the hairs, so you can get more stripy effects. And I thought that would work good for the texture and the pattern in the bamboo surface there. And once I got the basic kind of texture of the bamboo, I decided to add some shadows from the pizza. So I'm adding some ultramarine blue and burnt sienna together and making a darker brown that way. Because the burnt sienna is quite red, the blue kind of counteracts that orangey and reddish vibe and gives us more of like a neutralized gray that works with the scene here. Because I have 8 colors, it's going to be very harmonious. I definitely did not need to have a yellow ochre and a raw sienna, but I was having a hard time deciding which one to pick, and they were like $6 a tube for like 37 ml. So I'm like, well, I'll use it eventually. I don't have much in the way of yellow ochre or raw sienna gouache, so I figured that would work out great. I haven't totally formed my opinion about this gouache yet, but I have to say, just using it, I didn't have any hindrances. It was pretty fun and easy to use, and it actually reminded me of their watercolors quite a bit. I will do a full review on this paint once I've used it a little bit more. I think it's going to be one of those quirky paints where I think the paint is high quality, but I think that if you're looking for a quote-unquote gouache, you may experience some things about this paint that you might not be completely happy with. But you can see there it mixed really well. I probably should have grabbed a cool yellow while I was at it, but I think what it was is I have so many like cooler yellow gouaches already that I decided to just go with like a yellow deep, which is, well, it's actually kind of a warm yellow, but I thought it was neutral enough that it would work, and it did. I mean, look at that nice bright green I got with the phthalo blue and that yellow deep. So I got no complaints about the color palette I picked. Overall, I found it to perform quite nicely, and I really enjoyed using it. But I'm going to use it a little bit more because I think there's definitely some quirks about this gouache that a lot of people are not going to be that thrilled with. Like, for instance, when I was swatching out the colors, especially on the phthalo blue and the alizarin crimson and the burnt sienna, I saw this kind of shininess to the mass tone swatch, which isn't what you really want in a gouache. You generally want that to look matte, even in mass tone. And those also were not very opaque. So I've heard that some people say, well, artist gouache versus designer gouache, artist gouache isn't necessarily going to be opaque, but this is quite transparent. In fact, I swatched it out next to their watercolors, and some colors were very, very similar to their watercolors, like in sheerness and whatnot. So So yeah, it's definitely going to take a little getting used to, I think, for a lot of gouache artists to use this brand. And I feel like you do need to add that titanium white to a lot of the colors to get it more gouache-like. Although the tinting strength, I think, is pretty good on these paints, that you can add some white to it without it affecting the color too much, which which is nice. It gives you a little bit of flexibility, especially if you're like me and you like to start off with lighter, more watery layers and then build up to the more opaque layers. So if you're a watercolorist thinking you want to dip your toe into gouache, this could be a nice option for you. It's definitely probably the best bang for your buck as far as gouache paint. You are getting a professional quality paint, but it almost reminds me of like the Kiritake Gansai Tambi paints in like the finish and the feel of them. So I don't know, they seem to actually dry down pretty well too. I was noticing in my ceramic palette here I didn't get any flaking or chipping like I usually do with gouache paint, so that might be a good option if you like to pan your gouache. It reminded me quite a bit of the Mission Titanium class. But anyway, as you could see, painting with it was really fun. This photo that I'm working from was from the Food Paint Challenge on Instagram. If you follow Dennis P. Fell Art, hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'll link to it in the video description. If you follow him, he posts a photo every week, and he has a woman that he does this challenge with, and her screen name is I don't know how to pronounce her screen name, but you can get to all of that information from the link to his Instagram. But anyway, yeah, they post a food photo every week, and then their inspiration, their artwork they do from it, and it's really fun because a lot of times a food photo they post are like, it's kind of like, meh, why would I paint that? But then I see their paintings and it's like, oh wow, that looks awesome. And I love painting ordinary things because I don't know, it teaches you to kind of see the beauty in the world, the beauty in the ordinary. It teaches you to really observe everything, I think, when you paint ordinary objects. But I also really like to paint food. So I greatly enjoy that challenge. I try to do it whenever I can. And I went kind of big on this one. This is probably about 9x9, I would say, this painting that I'm doing here, because it's in my 9x12 sketchbook. And I did crop it square because I'm going to share it on Instagram as part of that challenge. And I do really enjoy taking part in online art challenges. That's why I started the Sketchbook Floozies art challenge, because I figured I probably should give back for all of the enjoyment I get from other people's art challenge. But there's a lot of good ones out there. There's the shiny paint challenge. There's, oh gosh, the liquid paint challenge. There's so many. They're just fun. I just really enjoy them. I love the shadows under the stretchy cheese there. I think that really adds a lot of depth and texture. And I was kind of at this point getting a little bit lost in the detail, because nothing was like really that. There was no real like focal point. I said maybe that slice of pizza there in the middle is like the focal point, but you know, there's just a lot of repetition, and you can kind of paint quite a bit on this without really adding much. You know, getting the basil or pesto or whatever that is, it's kind of like in the crust, getting that all kind of layered up. It's easy to kind of get lost. When I was painting this, I really had no idea how long it was taking me, so it was funny to look back at the footage. It was under an hour, and honestly, a couple times I'd let the camera roll. I forgot I was filming, and so there's like just the camera's rolling at my desk and I'm not doing anything. I've like wandered away or something. So it actually was a fairly quick painting for me, but I think that's good when you're so kind of in the zone or in the flow state that you don't even realize how long you're spending on a painting. I think that's a great point to be. I think a lot of times we get very concerned with how long it's taking us. Are we getting the bang for the buck in our time? Are we making good use of our time, rather than just sitting back and enjoying the process? And if that's a testament to the paint, I would say, yes, I really enjoyed using this paint. Now, I mean, there were a few little quirky things, but we'll discuss that in the review eventually. And I don't want to say too much about the paint until I'm absolutely certain I've formed my opinion of it, and I've tried to avoid hearing other people talk about the paint, because there are a lot of opinions out there of this paint, and I just want to use it and see what I think before I make my review. Anyway, this is how the painting turned out. I just love it. It was a lot of fun to paint, and I like how the picture came out, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.